Companies that are good at what they do, as I said before, also tend to be good at doing good. Now, the fact is that unless you have a spare $1 billion lying around somewhere, it's going to be very hard for you to set up a supply chain worth billions of dollars, right? Why not piggyback on that? And I do like that you started the question and answer, so I'll I mean, put a bit of structure on the question and answer if you give me a couple minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to just put like one quick response to your question, and I think you had a point to make, right?
Yeah.
Do you wanna, okay, so I'll just quickly give that point, which is businesses and philanthropists play a very different role. Philanthropists give money. Businesses have, like what Greg said, entire supply chains behind them where they can affect more deeply whatever impact they seek to make. So like you said, it's part of an ecosystem, and I think that these two kinds of stakeholders play different roles. And if you consider the reach of multinationals increasingly, not just in capital cities, but also going to second and third tier cities, this kind of power can be immense from one company. Imagine 10, 20, 30 MNCs. So, I mean, that's food to chew on. And do you wanna? Yeah.
Well, I think just from the Ben & Jerry's, that, like, what we take out of that is the CSR portion of Ben & Jerry's. It runs deeper than kind of a part of their profits being put towards like CSR. It runs deeper than that. It goes into their operations. It starts from the start of the supply chain. It flows through their entire operations. And I think that's something that we can think about in Singapore, where what companies see CSR as is very different than kind of what CSR might try to encompass.
Yes, it is a mindset shift.
I was rather caught off guard by the Q&A. So let me put a bit of a framework on it. And we were going to do the introductions, and then I was going to tell you more of why you're here. Now, the SBF has very kindly, given us free rein to do a bit of work in this regard, do a bit of research in this regard. Now, the first thing that we thought to do was how to take what is already being done, how to take what we propose to do, and fit it into a framework. Right? Now, the framework was always guided by this idea that CSR is not an and/or, it's an and. You may think that CSR is just, or rather the misconception in Singapore is that CSR is going to cost your company, it's going to cost your employees time. It doesn't. Right? CSR can support you, as we see it, in three ways. The first is through tax breaks. Right? It's a very simple thing. It touches your bottom line directly. You're getting involved in CSR, money comes back to you. Right? The second is PR. Now, PR does help companies. It helps them to drum up business. It helps them to, reach the communities that they work in. And thirdly, it's your employees, right? And getting your employees involved in CSR. So imagine if, your day-to-day task. Imagine if 2% of that over the course of a year is doing something really good. You may see that your task actually has some value to it. Right, so with that in mind, we proposed to Esther very kindly a plan for how we see the SBF moving forward. Now, in three different sort of branches. There's advocacy, right? Advocating tax breaks, something that the SBF already does very, very well. Asking of the government, for help in this sort of thing. The second is and one thing that we're going to be working on is the principles of what we think of as good CSR. As I said before, a lot of the activity has been quite neutral. There's a different conception. We want to say, in an ideal world, this is what we would like CSR to be. And that will be one of the papers that Tenggara will be writing. Right. The second branch is what we call consulting. Now, this is something the foundation's already thought of extensively, and has done a lot of work on. Educating companies about what good CSR is, holding classes for their employees. Right. We also think that there's room to be giving companies legal advice about CSR. Is it going to be, am I going to face legal repercussions if I engage in this regard? Taxation advice, how to make the most of those tax breaks. SBF. By law, every single company has to be a member of the SBF above a certain size, a very small size. Yeah, above 500,000 you have to be a member of the SBF. So, it's a great one-stop shop for this kind of advice. Now the second thing highlighted in yellow that where Tenggara will write a paper on, and you'll sort of be split into different working groups based on each of these, is identifying the beneficiaries. And this is, hopefully to guide the questions to Bernice, because Bernice has done amazing work on the factors which most affect the poor in Singapore.
As one research area.
As one research area, amongst many others.
Root cause analysis. So.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that, you can guide your questions towards Bernice. One of the papers will be writing. Now, the third is what we call active CSR. Now, we can be providing all the advice we want, we can be waiting for companies to come to us, but perhaps at some point we can step in and be catalysts and be facilitators. And I think the SBF certainly has thought about it before. They've thought about distribution. So say your company is too small to justify donating its, or rather transporting its donated goods to the beneficiaries. It doesn't make sense to do it. Right? What if you were to send a truck around to pick this stuff up? Simple as that. That could have a huge effect. Now the second is what we're calling PR economies of scale, and this is the third PR mechanisms to benefit from doing CSR for chance. Now imagine imagine a mom and pop store, on the corner of some street in your local neighborhood, and they every month donate, say, food to the local shelter. Now they haven't got the capacity to shout about what they do to drum up business because of it. And what if, right, that shows that these businesses engage in CSR and they engage in CSR well. Think about the yellow ribbon. The yellow ribbon was not some big, actually told me the yellow ribbon was not some big project from the government. It was 12 small organizations that in their own way worked on prisoner rights, and they came together and said, why don't we come under one PR body? Those are the three things Tenggara will be doing. So a bit of structure as to the questions we have for Bernice. Hopefully that gives you guys a better idea. And for those who are, have the time and would like to come on board for the next few months as we work on this project, think about which of these you best slot into, and we'll get to work from there. Sorry.